Oh, you're back for number 23. 23 of Derech Hashem here, utilizing the way of God by Rabbi Mordechai Goodman as a means to understand all Jewish philosophy. And if you don't know what that is, and you've just arrived here for some YouTube algorithm that told you to click this, please roll back to number 1, at least so we can get an intro of what it is that we're doing. My name is Rabbi Mordechai Goodman of Jewish Education in Manchester, and I'm here for Kesher Site Or, and we're going through Derech Hashem, the way of God. We're taking the topics one at a time as he goes through in the work, and we're on page 67. We're on section 1, chapter 4.6, and we're talking about the idea of keeping mitzvahs, doing the commandments, in order to be a consciousness development tool so that you can have a better relationship with the Creator. That's why he invented them. We're saying that's what the Torah says, why he actually put them together. He did that for that reason. That's the purpose of all Jewish commandments. Okay? So we're going to start point 6 again, and we did it last time. I'm just going to roll back. Man serves God by observing his commandments, and the root purpose of this service is to make man always conscious of God and turn him in God's direction. We gave the homework 15 seconds a month, no more than 15 seconds a month, of thinking about the message of the mezuzah, which is the scroll that you see on Jewish doorposts, usually on the right-hand side of the doorpost, depending on which side you're going, and usually as you walk in. And inside that is a scroll with 3 messages. One is there's only one God. You've got to love him actively. And 3 is you've got to understand that there's recompense for your deeds. And if you take that on board, you're going to be more conscious of God when you walk in that room, right? It's like that with every commandment. Carrying on in the text, the guiding principle is that man must realize God created him. That's something God has created you for, which is why most people at some stage in their lives will ponder their existence. That's because we are hardwired, genetically and spiritually, to ponder who we are and why we are here. Even though these may be very fleeting moments in a person's life. Yeah? Getting on with your work and the vicissitudes of your life and the peculiarities and parochial things that you're doing, taking out the bins and whatever it is your work is, whatever you're doing, there's going to be a time you're going to go, what is this all about? Why are we here? Lions, tigers, ducks don't think that. They don't ponder the concept of their existence. Humanity does, because to a certain extent, humanity is kind of above it all. It's kind of out. It's trapped in the system, but it realizes deep down subconsciously that we have a very special role in the system. The question is, what are we doing here? What is it all about? Right? So those moments, that is really key, and that was a 15-second moment that we did for the mezuzah, is to ponder that concept, to turn you into the concept, the idea at least, of the idea of God consciousness. You're only doing that to draw close to God and have your opportunity to have that relationship with him. And you can only do that if you overcome your evil urge. Consciously deciding to subjugate himself to the Creator and fulfilling God's commands, you've got to actually say, the reason I'm going to do things which I'm going to do anyway, like not hurting people and being nice to people, which are mitzvahs, by the way, is not because it's sociologically, psychologically correct according to my cultural background and whatever social mall there is. The Aztecs used to cut off people's heads and use them to play football, especially if they're enemies. It was considered cool. Today we'd abhor such a thing, but in those days it was the right thing to do. And if you didn't, you were a wuss. We have an external code, a moral ethic, which doesn't go through fashionable changes. It is solid, and it's like 2 + 2 is 4. 2 + 2 is 4. It doesn't go through fashionable changes. Today we don't say 2 + 2, we say it's 6 actually. And you just have to accept that because otherwise you're insulting me. No, 2 + 2 is 4. It's an external rule. It's like a pure mathematical concept. Mezuzah, tefillin, kashrus, whatever it is a pure mathematical concept. It's just part of the universe's systems that God set up to start with. Indeed, we have tradition that God created the Torah before he created the physical world. And he utilized the Torah as a blueprint, as the architectural plans to create a world in which the system of the Torah could be manifested. Interesting idea, no? Humanity must reverse its inclination towards the physical, conquer mundane tendencies, but you'll only be able to do so if you manage your affairs for the sake of attaining this goal, having no desire for anything else. That is a lifetime challenge, but that's the ultimate goal. Now remember, You don't have to go about doing so many different... You're still going to brush your teeth. You're still going to put your socks on. You're still going to have lunch. The question is, why brushing your teeth? Why putting your socks on? Why having lunch? If the only reason is to avoid dental caries, because I don't want my feet to get blisters and I don't want to be hungry, then that's very much on a physical, you-only centric system. I'm there for me. I don't like the idea of hurting my teeth and I don't want to go hungry. That's fine. Still have lunch, still brush your teeth, do all those things, but say, look, I've got to brush my teeth because I don't want people to be, repulsed by my bad breath, because if I'm going to learn with them or converse with them, I don't want to give them a bad impression, and I wouldn't want to misrepresent my views or Hashem in any way to them. If you're learning with a chavrusa and you're sitting over a table, a learning partner, and as you're talking, they're like, "Whew, man, you need to brush your teeth," that could disturb your limud Torah. That could disturb the learning that you're doing. So if you brush your teeth with the kavanah that I'm doing this for my chavrusa, for learning Torah, then you will be rewarded for limud Torah by brushing your teeth. Don't think what I'm saying is so incredible. That's completely normal. A Talmud Chacham, we know, a Torah scholar is given reward for sleeping because they need the recovery to be able to keep learning. So they're only going to bed so they can keep learning, so they get paid as if they're learning when they sleep. Completely normal idea. So if you put on your socks to say, I don't want to get blisters on my feet so that I can run to do mitzvahs, I've got people that are relying on me, I'm going to visit the sick, I'm going to help the aged, I'm going to do an act of chesed, I'm going to do an act of loving kindness if someone needs my help. Of course you've got to put your socks on, but you're putting on your socks on for a higher purpose. Point 7, bottom of page 67. Everything that man should do could be divided into two categories. Firstly, this is what he does as a result of commandment. I have a mitzvah to keep Pesach. The second is what's done out of necessity. I've got to eat, I've got to drink, I've got to wear clothing, I've got to find the clothing, I've got to make a parnasa, make a livelihood to purchase these concepts. The first category includes all the divine commandments, while the second includes everything that man does while making use of the world to fulfill his needs. This is it, we're coming up to the soldier analogy. I love this bit. The purpose of the divine commandments has already been discussed, namely that man should obey God's orders and fulfill his will. In doing so, he conforms to God's will in two interrelated ways. I may have to go a bit over time on this one, but please forgive me. This is really, really important, okay? I was once driving my car in Manchester, and I was at a crossroads, and there was a lot of traffic, so I was caught in traffic. I couldn't move the car. I was just basically bumper-to-bumper traffic. And I saw on my right what I thought was actually a BT Exchange building. But it isn't a BT Exchange building. It's an MOD site, a Ministry of Defence site. And out of this building came a whole bunch of young men in khakis, camos, like blotchy kind of camouflage uniform. They're wearing black berets with a white feather with a red feather on the top. I think that's the Royal Fusiliers. From what I understand, their white feather is the emblem of their particular battalion or their regiment. And once they were involved in a battle where their commanding officer told them to take out their white feathers and dip it in the blood of the fallen enemies that they had slaughtered. And therefore, the white feather had a red feather on the top. And they put that back in their beret. And now that is their regiment. That's their sign. That's their insignia. Anyway, a whole bunch of them were standing in a line. And a drill sergeant or a drill instructor was standing there. He went, and they started marching, like beautifully choreographed, up and down the square. I was obviously fascinated. I was like in traffic, and I couldn't go anywhere, so I was just watching. I was like, this is amazing. And then he would scream something else, and they would turn around, and they would perfectly move back and forth, choreographed. It was amazing. And they kept doing this, and while this was happening, I could hear the faint sound of car horns for some reason. And I was like absolutely hypnotized. And then I realized that actually I was so hypnotized watching them, I hadn't moved from the junction. And all the cars behind me going, you need to turn. So it was great. It was loads of fun. It was fascinating. It was hypnotic. It was amazing to see them like move in such a brilliant choreographed manner. Now imagine you're an alien or something like that, and you come into the world, you see this, and you're like, why are these men dancing? It's like a dance, isn't it? It's a form of dance, really. They're moving in a beautifully choreographed manner, goose-stepping and turning it like all perfectly. Why are they doing that? It doesn't serve any purpose. There's no purpose behind it. You don't need to do that. So I think the first thing that a young man would say as to why he's doing it is because it's my job and I'm getting paid for this. And my job is to do whatever my drill instructor tells me to the best of my abilities. And if I don't, I get reprimanded. And if that keeps happening, eventually I will lose my job and I won't get paid. And I'm doing this for the money. This is my livelihood. I'm a soldier. That's what I'm doing. It's a professional choice. It's a career path. Okay, so he's doing it for the money. So I say, oh, you're doing that for money? That's a strange thing to do for money. I mean, you're not like building anything, or you're not like a technician or a medical worker. You're dancing up and down a square for money. Why, of all things, would your drill instructor want you to dance up and down a square for money? The reason for that is that it makes me a particularly disciplined soldier, where I do whatever my commandant, my superior, tells me without question. What? You're programming yourself to not think? That's what I'm doing. Why would you do such a thing? Well, I've thought about that. And the reason is that I might be in the heat of battle, and my commanding officer might say, run over that hill into oncoming fire. And in my right mind, there's no way I would do that. I would run the other way, because it's the right thing to do, because someone is actively trying to shoot me. But if I'm well disciplined, I will listen to my drill instructor and take the hill, and that makes me a good member of a superior, disciplined fighting force, which at the end of the day is what an army is all about. There are two elements of fulfilling the marching up and down the square. One is the pure command to do it and payment thereof. And two is the special package of brilliance that you get from becoming disciplined in that manner, which you don't get necessarily by cleaning a gun. You become technically clever at cleaning guns and making sure there's no jams in the gun, but you don't become as disciplined as you do by marching up and down the square, which is why it's still done. Whenever you fulfill a mitzvah, there's two elements. You make a blessing before you doing a mitzvah. What do we say? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kiddishanu mitzvosav v'tzivanu al whatever it is. Thank you for sanctifying me with your commandments and commanding me in the manner of washing my hands, shaking a lulav, whatever it's going to be. There's two things you get from every mitzvah. One is a payment due for compliance. I gave you work to do. Did you do it? Yes, I owe you money. That's a wage. You get that money. Two is you get a special boost of sanctity and God consciousness, which is only available with that particular activity. This is the secret behind Kiddishanu, a boost of consciousness only with that unique activity, and Vertzivanu, merely complying with command, literally, and you have commanded us. Both are rewardable. So God pays you for actually marching up and down the square, then he pays you a bonus for becoming a disciplined soldier. Well done. You've learnt a new specific thing by doing that particular mitzvah. There's a third whammy bonus that he gives you for saying, at the end of the day, by utilizing physicality in that way and getting those two previous payments, you're also justifying me creating the entire universe because you're utilizing physicality correctly. I'll pay you an extra third payment too. So every mitzvah gets three payments. One is for compliance. He owes you. Two is you got a boost of God consciousness that only that mitzvah can do for you. And three is whatever you were doing, however you did that mitzvah, is a utilization of physicality in a way which is good in and of itself, irrelevant of which particular mitzvah you're doing. Well done for utilizing the world in the way that I created it, which is to use it as a tool for you to get close to me. Here's a bonus payment. Interesting idea. What we're going to do is discuss this a little bit more later and how technically we can make every single movement we make rewardable in all three ways. And I look forward to doing that with you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's great that you're here. Any questions, there's an anonymous Google Doc link below, in the line below in the description. Looking forward to hearing from you. Have a fantastic week.